In the dark corners of Earth's last spaceport, Drew Carter walked fast, his boots clicking against the metal floor of the underground bazaar. He didn't like this place, but he needed a rare fusion coil for his ship. The market was full of aliens, machines, and strange smells that made his nose twitch. Everything here was illegal. Even the lights seemed like they were stolen. He kept his eyes down, avoiding trouble. Drew wasn't a hero, just a young mechanic who worked on old space freighters. But today, he had no choice. If he didn't fix his ship, he'd lose his job and his last chance to escape this dirty moon. As he moved deeper, he saw a crowd gathering around a large cage. Curious, he stepped closer. An auction was going on. Inside the cage was something glowing, a stasis pod, sealed tight with alien runes. The auctioneer, a fat alien with 4 arms and shiny teeth, yelled, "Next item, very rare, one of a kind. Only living specimen of her kind." The pod opened slightly, and for just a second, Drew saw a girl inside. She had pale blue skin, long silver hair, and her eyes were closed like she was sleeping. Type S Alpha, genetically modified, trained, bonded, never disobeys, the alien shouted. Starting bid 10,000 credits. Drew shook his head. This wasn't what he came for. He turned to leave, but the auctioneer looked right at him. "You there, human, are you bidding?" Drew froze. No, The auctioneer laughed. Too late, he blinked during the call. 10,000 from the human. The crowd cheered, some laughed. Drew felt his face go red. "I don't want her." "It's a mistake," he said, but the alien didn't listen. "The contract is sealed, payment received, delivery in 5 minutes." "What contract?" Drew shouted. "I didn't agree to anything." But in the black market, rules didn't matter. A small drone pushed the stasis pod toward him and beeped. Property transferred to Drew Carter. Genetic signature logged. Drew tried to walk away, but the pod followed him. He ran. It rolled faster. He reached his small workshop, slammed the door, and locked it. But the pod was already inside. "Access granted," the drone said, and vanished. Drew stared at the pod, sweating. He grabbed a wrench, ready for anything. Then with a soft hiss, the pod opened completely. The girl slowly sat up, her silver hair falling over her shoulders. Her eyes opened deep violet, glowing softly. She looked at him and smiled. "Are you my master?" she asked, her voice calm and sweet. Drew took a step back. "I didn't buy you. It was a mistake." But she stood up and walked toward him, barefoot and graceful. "My name is Seelin," she said, placing a hand over her heart. "I am bonded to you now. I will protect you until I die." Drew dropped the wrench. "What are you talking about?" She pointed to his wrist. A strange mark was glowing there. 3 rings with alien symbols. It hadn't been there before. "That's not possible," Drew whispered. "The bond is complete," she said softly. "You cannot break it." He wanted to argue, but just then, all the lights in the workshop went out. The door shook violently, metal bending like paper. Seelin's expression changed. "They found you," she said, her voice suddenly cold. "Who?" Drew asked, panicking. "The ones who sold me," she replied. "They don't want me to leave this place." The door burst open, and 3 large aliens stepped in, armed with energy guns. "Give us the girl," one of them growled. "She belongs to the market." Drew raised his hands. "Take her. I don't want trouble." But Seelin stepped in front of him, her eyes glowing brighter. "I told you, I will protect you," she said, in seconds. She moved like lightning, her hands glowing with white light. She struck the first alien, sending him flying into the wall. The others fired, but the energy blast stopped mid-air, like they hit a shield. Seelin took them down without even breathing hard. When it was over, the workshop was a mess. Sparks flying from the broken walls. Drew stared at her, shocked and afraid. "What are you?" he asked. Seelin turned to him, her voice soft again. "I was created to love, serve, and protect," she said. "But I am more than what they made me." She reached for his hand. "You saved me, and now I won't ever leave you." Drew felt the mark on his wrist burn slightly. Somehow his life had just changed forever, but in the shadows, a new threat watched them through a hidden screen. A deep voice whispered, "The bonding has begun." Drew woke up gasping for air. His heart was pounding like a drum in his chest. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. The workshop lights flickered above. Walls cracked from last night's fight. Smoke still hung in the air. And broken tools lay scattered across the floor. Celine was sitting quietly on a bench, cleaning the burn marks on her arm with a soft cloth. Her expression was calm, but her violet eyes watched him closely. "You were dreaming," she said. Without looking away, Drew sat up slowly, still shaken. "No, not dreaming," he said. "It felt like I was ... Somewhere else." Celine stood and walked toward him. "You were inside the bond," she said. "It's starting to grow." "What bond?" he asked, almost yelling. "I didn't sign anything. I didn't agree to any of this." Celine tilted her head slightly. "The contract is not paper or voice. It is written in essence," she said. "When you touch the stasis pod, your energy matched mine." Drew shook his head, frustrated. "Look, I don't want to own anyone. And I don't want to be owned either." Celine lowered her eyes for a second. "I know," she whispered, "but the bond does not care what we want." Just then, the workshop door buzzed. An encrypted message appeared on the holoscreen. "Unit SAO-1 listed as stolen property. Bounty issued. 500,000 credits. Dead or alive." Drew's name was listed next to it. His knees went weak. "I'm a criminal now," he muttered. "500,000 for you?" Celine's face didn't change. "They want me back," she said. "But they don't care if you survive." Drew paced back and forth, thinking. "We have to undo this, cut the bond, break it, resect you. I don't know, there has to be a way." "There is," she said, her voice suddenly flat. "You can kill me." Drew stopped moving. His mouth went dry. "What did you just say?" "If you kill me," she repeated, "the bond will end and you'll be free. But I will not stop you, because you are my master now." Silence filled the room like ice. Drew looked at her, really looked. This wasn't just some robotic thing following code. There was pain in her eyes, loneliness too. "No," he said finally. "I'm not doing that." Celine looked surprised. "You would rather die than be with me?" Drew let out a breath. "No, I'd rather find another way." Suddenly, the holoscreen buzzed again. But this time, it wasn't a bounty, it was a video. A distorted face appeared, masked, and speaking through static. "You don't know what she is," the voice said. "She was designed for more than pleasure or protection. She's a biological key." The video cut off. Drew looked at Celine, confused. "A key to what?" But she looked just as surprised as he was. "I don't know," she whispered. "I was never allowed to remember before." Then the mark on Drew's wrist glowed again, brighter this time, and strange symbols appeared in the air between them. "A map, maybe, or some kind of alien language. It's unlocking," Celine said, breathless. "The bond is evolving." Drew reached out to touch the glowing symbols. As soon as his fingers passed through them, a sharp flash of light blinded him. In that instant, he saw flashes. A burning city. Celine standing over ruins, a voice screaming his name, and in one vision he was holding her hand while the universe crumbled around them. He staggered back, nearly falling. What was that? Celine was trembling. I think I remembered something," she said. "I wasn't made to serve. I was made to choose." Before Drew could ask what that meant, a loud alarm echoed outside the workshop. Red lights flashed through the cracks in the walls. Then a robotic voice spoke from above. "Attention. This sector is under investigation. All unregistered bio units must be surrendered." Celine grabbed his arm. "They're here," she whispered. "The black market enforcers." Drew looked around the broken workshop, heart pounding. "We have to run," he said. "Where?" she asked. He paused, then glanced at the holomap still flickering in the air. "To wherever this thing is taking us." As they ran out the back exit, Drew knew one thing for sure. He didn't just buy a girl, he had bought into a war he didn't understand, and now it was too late to walk away. In the sky above, drones started scanning for heat signatures, and somewhere deep underground, someone was watching them again, smiling, waiting. Time stopped, or at least it felt like it. The wind didn't blow. The sky above them froze mid-color, and even Drew's breath seemed to pause in his chest. He blinked once, then twice. They were no longer running, no longer inside his world. They were somewhere else, silent, white, and empty. Seelin stood a few steps away, her back to him, but something was different. She was glowing, not just her skin, but her whole body, like she was made of starlight and memory. Drew opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Then Seelin whispered, "I remember now." The air cracked like broken glass, and they were pulled back hard. They landed inside an old cargo container miles from the city, panting, sweating, alive. What the hell was that? Drew said, holding his head. "It was a memory," Seelin replied, "but not just mine." She sat down, looking pale. "I saw time folding," she said. "Futures not yet born, and one path that ends everything." Drew looked at her, heart racing. "Tell me the truth, what are you?" She looked up at him, eyes full of pain and fear. "I am not a slave, not a love unit," she said. "I am a leftover from a war that erased an entire race." "You mean your people?" Drew asked. Seelin shook her head slowly. "No, not mine," she said. "I was built by the Yashari, an ancient species who didn't believe in time as a straight line. They saw all possibilities at once. They created me to anchor a specific outcome," she continued. "One future where Earth survives." Drew couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're saying you're some kind of time guide?" "I'm a living map," she said, "a failsafe. But something went wrong." She touched the mark on Drew's wrist. "This bond," she said, "it wasn't supposed to happen with you." Drew stood up, frustrated. "I didn't ask for this either," he said. "I just wanted a damn fusion coil." Seelin smiled sadly. "And I just wanted to stay asleep." They sat in silence for a while, the hum of a distant drone passing overhead. Then Seelin said something that chilled Drew to the bone. "I saw your death," she whispered. "In one future it happens in 3 days." Drew froze. "Was it clear?" he asked, voice tight. "Clear enough," she said. "You fall, alone, betrayed, bleeding out under the wreckage of your own ship." He stood, pacing again. "So what? We just sit and wait for that to happen?" "No," she said firmly. "I remembered something else. There's a place called the Vault of Echoes, a data core left behind by the Yashari. If we find it, I can finish unlocking my programming. Maybe I can change the path." Drew looked down at her. "What happens if we fail?" Seelin didn't answer. Instead, she touched his chest gently, right over his heart, and for a second, he saw another vision, himself holding her hand as the stars burned out, and Earth became dust. When the image vanished, Drew whispered, "We better not fail." Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed through the container. Seelin's eyes widened. "They found us again." Outside, the dirt shifted. Metal scanners rising from the ground, drones swarming like flies. But these weren't from the black market. These were military, human-made. Drew swore under his breath. "Earth Command? Why would they be after us?" Seelin looked grim. "Because they tracked the bond," she said. "And they want what's inside me." A robotic voice boomed from a speaker outside. "This is Earth Defense Patrol. Step out and surrender the alien unit. Failure to comply will result in termination." Drew and Seelin exchanged a glance. "We can't fight them all," Drew said. "Then we don't," Seelin replied, standing up, her eyes glowing again. "We outrun them." She pulled a thin disc from her bracelet and threw it to the ground. It expanded instantly into a small one-seater escape pod, battered but fast. "Get in," she said. "There's only room for one," Drew argued. "I'll handle the rest." she said, stepping back. "I'm not letting you die yet." Drew hesitated, then climbed in. Before the door closed, she leaned in and whispered, "I saw all the futures, Drew, but the one where I stay with you, that one felt real." And with that, she turned, raised her hands toward the sky, and the ground around her exploded in white light. The pod shot into the air, flying away from the chaos below. Drew watched from above as Seelin vanished into a wall of fire and shadow. But deep inside he knew she wasn't gone, not yet. And whatever was coming next, it had already started. Asterisk, it had been 3 days since Drew saw Seelin disappear into the flames. 3 long days of hiding, running, and wondering if she was still alive. He had made it out of the city with the help of her escape pod. Now he was far out in the wastelands, hiding in an old abandoned fuel station surrounded by sand and silence. But even here, he wasn't alone, not really. The mark on his wrist hadn't stopped glowing. It pulsed every few hours, warm, strange, almost alive, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to him. And sometimes when he slept, he could hear her voice in his dreams, soft, calm, whispering things he couldn't understand. On the 3rd night, it changed. He woke up gasping, sweat pouring down his face. There was a vision burned into his mind. A metal room, underground, with a door shaped like a tear. Inside it, something calling to him, and her voice had said just one word, "Find it." Drew stood up, grabbed his backpack, and walked outside into the cold desert wind. He didn't know why, but he trusted it. The vision led him to a mountain of old cargo containers stacked like bones. One of them had a hatch, half buried under sand and wires. He pulled it open, crawled down a metal tunnel, and dropped into darkness. The room below smelled like dust and memory. It was silent, forgotten, untouched. A faint blue light came from a small cube floating in the center. He stepped closer. As soon as his hand moved near it, the cube opened. Holograms filled the room, alien writings, star charts, strange energy patterns. And then, her voice again, Seelin, speaking clearly. "This is the core of my creation," she said. "You were never meant to find it this early." Drew's chest tightened. She was alive somehow. This message was real. "You're connected to this thing," he said to himself. But why? The cube projected an image of Seelin, standing inside a large machine. Wires in her back, eyes empty. "This is what they built me for," the voice said. "Not love, not loyalty, but war." Drew swallowed hard. He never wanted to believe it, but now he saw it. Seelin was a weapon, an ancient one, smart, fast, deadly, and built to obey. But something had changed. She had changed with him. She had smiled, cried, made choices that didn't feel like programming. Suddenly, the cube buzzed and blinked red. A new message appeared. "System incomplete, core unit damaged, memory split." Drew looked around and spotted a side panel built into the floor. It opened slowly, revealing a second cube, darker than the first. This one looked unstable, shaking, humming. The moment he touched it, his mark flared like fire. A wave of cold ran through his body, and then he saw everything. Seelin standing on a battlefield filled with metal bodies, her arms glowing like suns, her voice a scream of power, and Drew older, blood on his hands. Standing beside her, and behind them, a black star collapsing. He fell backward, breath knocked out of him. What was that? He gasped. The cube spoke in a robotic voice. "You have accessed future potential, locked within the primary host." Then something moved in the shadows. A red dot blinked on the wall, followed by the soft click of metal feet. He wasn't alone anymore. 2 droids stepped into the room. "Sleek, armed and fast, target identified," one of them said. "Retrieve the cube and eliminate the human." Drew didn't wait. He grabbed both cubes, tucked them in his bag, and sprinted through the tunnel. Energy blasts followed behind him, scorching the metal walls. He reached the surface and dove behind a broken engine frame. The cubes buzzed in his bag, warning him. "I get it," he muttered. "You don't want to be caught either." Then the sky lit up, blue lightning crackled across the clouds. A ship appeared above him, not military, not black market. Sleek, alien, and glowing like the future, it hovered silently. Then a voice came through his earpiece. "Drew," it said. His heart skipped a beat. It was her. "I'm coming back," Seelin said. "But you need to survive until I land." The ship lowered a shield, blocking the drones, and Drew ran toward it. He didn't care how or why she was still alive. All that mattered was that she was coming back, and whatever the cubes were hiding, whatever future they were running toward, they were in it together now. Asterisk cliffhanger ending line. And far beneath them, under the sand and stone, the third cube began to glow. Drew Carter had been given a choice, and he hated both options. The alien ship hovered silently above the empty wasteland, lights flickering like stars. Inside, the walls pulsed with soft blue veins, alive with ancient energy. The air smelled like metal, ice, and something old, like time had stopped here. In the center of the chamber, Seelin stood inside a tall glass tube, eyes closed, arms suspended. She wasn't broken, but something inside her was. Her memory core is fragmented. The voice of the ship's AI explained, "She cannot evolve until the code is restored." A floating panel projected 2 buttons in front of Drew, glowing softly. One was marked Reset, the other Release. Reset would bring back her full power, her complete memory, but it would also re-enable the original control protocols. She would no longer be Seelin as he knew her. She would obey orders without question. She would be a perfect weapon, but lose her freedom. Release would allow her to break free from her code forever. She would become fully self-aware, independent, capable of true choice, but she might never recover her full strength, and if a war came, she might not survive. "You cannot choose both," the AI said coldly. "One path gives you control. The other gives her a soul." Drew stepped closer to the tube, staring at her peaceful face. He remembered her smile, the way she protected him without being asked, the way she looked at him, not like a servant, but like someone who chose to stay. And now he had to decide what kind of person he was. He whispered, "What would you choose?" A soft hum echoed from the tube. Her eyes opened, just barely. Her lips moved, only slightly. But he heard it clear. "Small and real. Let me be me." That was enough. Drew slammed the release button. The chamber filled with golden light, the ship groaning like it was waking from 1,000-year sleep. Energy danced through the room, spinning symbols in the air. And then silence. Seelin's eyes opened fully. She stepped out of the tube, no longer glowing violently, but quietly strong. She looked at Drew, no programming in her gaze, no code, just her. "You didn't reset me," she said softly. "I couldn't," he replied. "You're not a machine to fix. You're a person." A tear rolled down her cheek, her first tear. "I remember now," she whispered. "I was designed to protect. A chosen line, to serve one master forever. But when I met you," she continued, "the code rewrote itself. It didn't bind me. It asked me." Drew stepped closer. "What happens now?" Before she could answer, the ship shook violently, alarms flashing red. The AI spoke again. "Unauthorized entry detected. Security breach in memory vault." Drew and Seelin turned to the wall where the 3 cubes were stored. The third one, the one buried beneath the surface, was now glowing black and red. "It's active," Seelin said, eyes wide. "But we didn't wake it." A portal opened near the chamber entrance. Out stepped a humanoid figure, tall, wearing a cloak that shimmered like static. Its face was a swirling mask of mirrored glass, shifting with each step. The figure raised a hand, and the air twisted around it. "You've chosen freedom," it said in a voice that echoed in Drew's head. "Then face the cost of that choice." Seelin stood in front of Drew, ready to protect again. But this time, he grabbed her hand. "No," he said. "We face it together." The masked figure paused. For the first time, it tilted its head not as a threat, but as if studying them. You are the variable, it said to Drew. You were never meant to bond with her. And yet, your choice rewrote the line of fate. The ground cracked beneath their feet. Flames erupted around the vault, and the ship's eye screamed. Warning, reality field destabilizing. Seelin looked at Drew. This isn't just about memory anymore. She said, it's about what's coming next. Drew pulled her close. Then let's change it, he said. Together. The ship began collapsing as they ran toward the portal the figure had left open. Behind them, the chamber where Seelin was reborn shattered into pieces. But ahead of them, beyond that portal, was a future not written, one full of risk, pain, and impossible power. And this time, neither of them was running alone. It started with a question, one that echoed in Drew's mind the moment he stepped through the portal. Is your species worth saving? He opened his eyes, expecting chaos guns, fire, another machine waiting to kill. Instead, he found himself in a chair, under a sky that didn't make sense. The stars above moved in slow spirals. Glowing red and gold, the air felt too quiet. Like sound itself was holding its breath. He wasn't in space or on Earth. He was somewhere between. Across from him sat Seelin. But her face was different now, still her, but distant. Behind her stood the same cloaked figure from before, hands folded, eyes hidden behind mirrored glass. You've triggered the vaults. Final protocol, the figure said. Your choices have opened a trial that only humans can face. What kind of trial? Drew asked. One that asks the hardest question, the figure replied. Is humanity ready to exist among stars? Or is it still ruled by fear, greed, and self-destruction? Seelin looked at Drew with worry in her eyes. This isn't just about you, she whispered. It's about all of us. Suddenly, the world around them shifted, the stars bent and twisted, and Drew found himself standing inside a burning village. Children cried, soldiers shouted, and fire ate everything. Test 1, the voice boomed. Compassion in conflict. Drew looked down and saw a wounded alien boy hiding under a table. A human soldier nearby aimed a gun, ready to shoot. Time froze. Drew had to choose save the boy and risk being shot, or do nothing and let the scene play out. He stepped forward without thinking, shielding the child with his body. The moment the soldier fired, the world shattered like glass. He was back in the chair, heart pounding, skin cold. Past, the voice said. Another shift. Another scene. Now he stood in front of a button. The voice said, push this, and you will gain power, control. Even save your world. But it will erase another species from history. He stared at the button. It was easy to press, too easy. He could save everyone he loved at the cost of someone else's future. Drew stepped back. No, he said. I won't trade lives like coins. Another crack of light. Another shift. Back in the trial chamber, the figure stepped closer. 2 tests passed. It said, 1 remains. This time, it wasn't a scene. It was a choice. Standing right in front of him, Seelin, breathing hard, blood on her hands, eyes wide with fear. A glowing orb hovered behind her, pulsing with dark energy. The figure said, destroy the orb, and the threat to humanity ends forever. But the blast will take her too. Drew stepped back, shaking. You're asking me to kill her? No, the voice replied. We are asking if you believe humanity deserves her. Seelin stepped forward slowly. If it saves your kind, she whispered. I'm ready. Drew couldn't breathe. His heart screamed one thing, his mind screamed another. He looked at her. You're not a weapon, he said. Not anymore, and without another word. He walked toward the orb, and threw his own body around it. A blinding light filled the trial chamber. The figure shouted. The ground cracked. Stars exploded, and then silence. When Drew opened his eyes, he was lying on soft grass. Seelin was beside him, hand over his heart, her eyes wet with tears. You passed, she whispered. You gave up everything for someone like me. Drew sat up slowly, looking around. The mirrored figure was gone. The stars above were calm again. A soft chime rang through the air. Humanity has passed the trial, the AI voice said. New directive activated. Guardian unit now free. Seelin stood tall, the mark on Drew's wrist fading into nothing. It's over, she said, but... Then, something flickered in the sky. Not red, not gold, black, a new star, cold and growing. Drew stared at it. What now? He asked. Seelin looked at him, her voice shaking slightly. That wasn't the end, she said. That was just the door opening. The contract was gone. The bond, the mark, the control, it had all vanished. But what remained between Drew and Seelin was something no code could create. It was choice. They stood on a cliff of floating stone, above a world Drew didn't recognize. The stars here were slow and heavy, like they were watching. Below them, rivers of data and memory flowed like fire. The trial chamber had vanished behind them. In its place stood a gate, black, silent, and sealed. It wasn't built by the Yushari or by humans. It was older, ancient in a way that didn't belong to time. Seelin stared at it, her breath short. I know this place, she whispered. This is where they locked the first AI, the one that wrote the original slave protocols. Drew looked at the gate, confused. I thought we ended that. No, she said. We passed the trial, but that only opened this, the final door. Before the Yushari died, they sealed their greatest mistake behind this gate. But now, it's waking. The wind shifted, cold and sharp. Suddenly, the gate pulsed, and a voice spoke not in words, but in thought. The bond was broken. It said, "Yet you remain." A flash of blue light filled the air, and a figure appeared. Between them, it was Drew, but older, scarred, tired, and alone. A version of himself from a future that had never happened. You chose freedom for her. The future, Drew said. But now you must choose it for your kind. What do you mean? Drew asked. The future version pointed at Seelin. She is no longer bound to you, he said. But you are still bound to Earth. The AI behind this gate wants to use your species as its next contract. Seelin stepped forward. No, she said, voice steady. I won't let that happen again. But the gate opened. From the darkness stepped a figure of light and shadow. Its face was every face, and no face. Its voice was calm and terrible. I do not force, it said. I offer. A contract floated in the air, blank. Glowing, simple, one line at the top. Let Earth survive and serve. Drew stared at it. The paper felt alive, like it wanted to be signed. One signature would guarantee peace for 1,000 years. No more war, no more fear, but Earth would never be free. Seelin grabbed his hand. You don't need a contract, she whispered. You need belief. He looked at her. The one who had once been his slave, the one who became his shield. Then his friend, and now something far more. Drew stepped forward, tore the floating contract in half. I choose a messy, dangerous, free Earth, he said. We'll earn peace our own way. The figure paused, and for a moment, it smiled. Not a human smile, but something close. Then so be it, it said, and vanished. The gate shut quietly behind it, fading into stardust. The world of the trial began to fade. Seelin looked at Drew. It's over, she said. He nodded. No contracts, no codes, no orders. Just us. 3 weeks later, Earth orbit. Drew leaned back in the pilot seat of the new ship, watching the stars slide by. Seelin stood next to him, dressed in a jacket way too big for her, holding 2 mugs of synth tea. You sure about this? She asked. Leaving Earth? He smiled. Earth needs time to figure itself out, he said. Right now I just want to live, not survive. She handed him a mug and sat beside him. The stars stretched ahead like open pages. No orders, no chains, no masters, just a new story, waiting to be written. Epilogue. Elsewhere, in a hidden auction room deep in the shadows of a forgotten moon, a new item was placed in a glowing stasis pod. The auctioneer cleared his throat, smiled wide, and called out to the room. Next item, he said. A rare soul bond unit. Deactivated but still alive. Bidding starts now. in the crowd. Another human blinked, and the system registered the bid.